My 54 male, mother, 77, lives in a dementia care facility. She's been living there for over 2 years after being diagnosed with Alzheimer's about 4 years ago. My brother Todd, 51, has always been Mom's favorite. He didn't move out of our house until his early 30s because of his mental health issues. He was always a bit of a party goer and spent his early 20s getting high and relying on our parents to care for him. Because of this, our mom has always been overprotective of him and catered to his every need. When our father passed away in 2014, our mom signed paperwork to make me her power of attorney when she was to need it because I've always been more responsible and mature than Todd. He couldn't have been trusted with that responsibility. A little over a week ago, Todd visited our mom, and a few days later, I visited her. When I was at the facility, a nurse told me that my mom didn't recognize Todd and was upset someone she didn't know was in her room. I then told the facility's administrator that she would not have visitors other than me. As her POA, I feel it's my responsibility to make sure she feels safe and happy where she lives. Since she doesn't recognize family often and could get upset when someone she doesn't recognize is in her room, I told the facility staff to not allow visitors except for my wife and me. We're the ones who see her the most and are the ones that are most involved with her care. I didn't want to do this, but it's what I felt I had to do to preserve my mom's happiness as much as possible. Now my brother and his daughters, my nieces, have been texting me constantly for the past week, calling me an idiot for not allowing them to see their mom/grandma. I explained that this wasn't about them. It was about my mom and what was best for her. But they're not understanding that and insist they should be able to visit her, even if she doesn't recognize them. I offered to have them video call her. The facility has tablets they let residents use to video call family. However, they said that that's not the same and are still calling me an idiot for not allowing them to visit. I think it's my job to do what's best for my mom, and having visitors in her room that she doesn't recognize is clearly upsetting to her. Still, all of the backlash from my family has made me second guess. Am I the idiot? Edit. My brother and his family are welcome to visit my mom with me there. They don't like this solution because my brother works nights, and it's hard for us to find times when we're all available. I offered to set times a couple of days a month to visit together. Still, they're against that and insist on being able to visit whenever. Unless your brother is abusive to your mom, keeping him away from her isn't you actually helping her. Her illness shouldn't be used against her to further isolate her after all. The treatment plan for my relative with dementia has revolved around reminding her of things she knows to keep her present. So you are the idiot. I can't make sense of the cruelty you feel is helpful to your mom. She's going to have good days and bad days, and keeping people who love her away from her can make the bad times much worse. What are your mother's doctors advising you to do? Wait, he visited once and she didn't respond well, so OP banned everyone. Good job, dude. Patients with dementia, Alzheimer's, etc. may not recognize a relative one day and then recognize them fine the next day. Cutting them off abruptly is not in OP's mother's best interest. But OP doesn't care because he wants revenge on the brother. He's just talking about how the brother was the favorite and then leading into how irresponsible he was 20 plus years ago. You hit the nail on the head. This screams, isolating to get everything when she croaks, and no one can say otherwise. So no one can visit but OP and their wife? Doctor agrees? I feel bad for the woman stuck with OP as POA. What are you planning to do if the time comes when she no longer recognizes you? Exactly. How cruel of you to not let your brother and other family members see your mom. How vile of you to exercise your power to take that from them. What you did is disgusting because people with dementia have good and bad days. It sounds like you feel bitter about your brother being favored or babied by your mom, and now you're just trying to hurt him as revenge. I ate with my husband and kids 2 nights ago at a family-friendly restaurant, the kind of place one expects to see a lot of families with young children. Think pizza and chicken fingers. A few tables down was a large party with a baby. Every so often, the baby would make a cute babbling sound. No problem, it's a family restaurant. But then an older woman, presumably the baby's grandma, would imitate the baby's sound, but at probably 3 times the volume. After 15 minutes, I walked over to that other table and asked if they could keep it down a bit. I told them I understand it's fun to be out with a baby. It wasn't that long ago for me, but asked that the big people keep their voices turned down to the volume of the kids. One of the other women stands up and starts screaming at me that she has a right to bring her kids to a family restaurant and that I need to stop harassing her family. I calmly explained to her that the baby's doing great, no problem with me at all, but the adults shouldn't try to scream louder than the baby while playing with the baby. This woman went off on me, screaming and yelling that I was harassing her family, that they have a right to bring their baby wherever they want, and threw some nice 4-letter words in my direction too. Yes, including that one. The entire party finally got up in a huff, shouted, "Clearly families aren't welcome here anymore," and stormed out of the restaurant with their meals still on the table. The manager came by and told me he had heard the whole thing and that the family skipped out on a $70 bill. I offered to pay it, but he refused, insisting it wasn't my fault. However, multiple people at further away tables kept staring at me for the entire rest of the meal. And when we were in the parking lot on our way out, a woman I'd never seen before came up to me and told me I should be ashamed of myself for telling that nice family to leave, even though that's not what I even asked. I just feel so frustrated because people seem so angry at me, even though I'm sure they only heard the other woman's side of the conversation because she was screaming while I was trying to maintain a calm voice. Am I the idiot? You are the idiot. Talk to the manager to handle that crap. You're not the police of the restaurant, volume. It sounds innocent enough, but who are you to dictate? Yeah, she was loud, but that's what the waitstaff and manager are for. Maybe they knew they were giant idiots and would have comped the meals and apologized. Who knows? But instead, you went and took over. Come on. Disagree, not the idiot. They come off as scammers, just looking for any reason to skip out on their bill. They would have pulled the same stunt if the manager had asked them to quiet down. Notice how they conveniently became obnoxious only after scarfing down $70 of food. Ooh, good point. And grandma imitating the baby sounds at a much higher volume, coupled with the woman's only defense that she's allowed to take her baby wherever she wants, even though it was the adult that was the problem, not the kid. Almost makes it sound rehearsed. They've been totally scammed before. I'm sorry, but you are the idiot, OP. Honestly, I laughed because it sounds like my grandmother playing with her great-grandkids after she got Alzheimer's, and she was still super fun, but her sense of decorum and her decibel meter was definitely broken. Or my mom, who's partially deaf and really doesn't notice, and unlike that lady, would be horrified and definitely take it down a notch if you asked her nicely, that she sometimes gets unintentionally but painfully loud, LOL. It's definitely a real thing that happens, and sometimes it's not even for terrible reasons. People who are hard of hearing tend to get louder because they don't recognize the decibel of everyone else. I'm gonna go with you are the idiot too, purely because I doubt your narrative. If you were calm and reasonable, the other people around you wouldn't be taking the side of the woman screaming swear words at the top of her lungs in a restaurant full of children. Nobody uses that nice family to describe a group who was screaming and yelling that language around kids. Well, maybe Australians. If they were really standing there and screaming that, I shudder to think what you must have done to sway public opinion in their favor. 2 weeks ago, a college student that lives in the apartment next door went door to door to every single apartment on our floor and the floors below and above us to warn each neighbor that she had her college exams coming up and she was studying. so we better not have any parties until the end of this month. She was somewhat kind, and having been through the stress of exams, I was compassionate. I agreed that I won't have loud parties, but I told her that my birthday was Friday night. I'd probably have a couple of friends over and have some low music. She got annoyed when I told her that and told me that I better be quiet then. I was not too fond of her attitude because I was trying to be empathetic, and I also told her I'd not do anything crazy for a party besides low music and some friends over. On Thursday evening, after I came back from work, I saw 2 notes, one on the building entrance and one on the elevator, which said, "I'm the college student from floor 7. Please refrain from any kind of social gatherings that might disturb my studying during this stressful time." I didn't give much thought to it. I wasn't planning on a party, as I said. On Friday night, I had 3 of my closest friends come over. We didn't party. We just chilled at my apartment and had some low music that could be barely heard in my own bedroom, let alone next door apartments. On Saturday morning, there was a note on the elevator again, naming me, saying how Lady X from the 7th floor and apartment number X broke the agreement and had a social gathering on Friday night, completely disrespecting the stressful time I'm going through. She said she was being discreet, but this was not enough. I could still hear some laughs and discussions because I had my windows and balcony door open, disrupting my peace and focus. Let this be a lesson the next time someone disrespects stressful times like this. You will be called out. Certain neighbors defended me and said the college girl was being unreasonable with her demands, but other neighbors believed I was an idiot and that I should go to a restaurant or a bar instead of having a gathering at my house. She wasn't even prepared to close her windows? What? I love that she thinks she can go around demanding that people not have guests in their own homes and seems to think that this created some agreement. She sounds unhinged, to be honest, and you are not the idiot. If she's in that dire need of quiet, she should look at alternative places to study, such as a library. I'm gobsmacked that any neighbors agreed with her and called you out. What did they say to you? What is their reasoning or justification that an entire building has to go on lockdown for a month because a single tenant demands it? And that the tenant doesn't themselves need to ensure their peace and quiet by closing their windows? I'm genuinely curious about the mindset of anyone who finds this tenant acting responsibly. Yeah, I find it aggravatingly hilarious that the neighbor thinks that she's the reasonable one here. I'm a big-time introvert, and I would have found reasons to have people over every night till her exams were over if she tried to pull this. Wow. Tell her to buy some earplugs. My female 29, brother 26, is getting married soon. All the family likes his fiancée. We really accepted her as part of the family already, even though they've only been dating for 2 years. They got engaged 4 months ago. She was extremely excited and nervous about the dress in particular. She's the kind of silly girl who loves weddings and that kind of stuff, so we expected it, to be honest. She asked some friends and close family to go with her to buy the dress. We went to the store, and she let us each pick a dress we wanted her to try. Most of my family picked big dresses, mainly because she's too thin, and we thought a tight dress would make her look bad. Everyone in my family is kind of big, except my brother, who got into fitness at a young age, and a cousin who had an ED, and it was so bad she passed away for causes related to it. So we've always been worried about future sister-in-law's health, although she says she's just skinny and she's healthy. Well, she was trying on the dresses, and one of her friends had picked a strapless siren cut dress. It was cute, but it looked bad on her. It made her look like she was sick and unhealthy. I told her I didn't like it. It didn't suit her personality. My family agreed with me, but her friends and family said she looked gorgeous in it. She changed into the next dress and so on. She hasn't bought a dress yet because she still wants to think about the options and which one she likes best. She and I went out to eat yesterday. As I'm in charge of her wedding cake, I own a bakery. and we needed to talk about that. We also chatted about other stuff. At some point, she asked me why I was so against some of her dresses that she tried on the other day. I told her I just think she looks better in a big dress. It makes her look like a princess. She told me she was thinking of buying a siren cut dress and asked me why that kind of dress didn't make her look like a princess. I then told her that, quite honestly, they make her look too thin, like she's sick. She rolled her eyes and asked if it made her look anorexic. I said, yeah, kind of. You look like cousin's name did in her prom dress. Then she went off on me. She told me I was awful and then left. She then told my brother what happened, and he called me to tell me off too. Am I the idiot here? She asked me, and I answered honestly. Yes, you are the idiot. You say your family likes her, but you clearly don't. You sound really jealous of her in all honesty, and like you have massive hang-ups around size. I imagine she rolled her eyes before asking the final question, because this is something you always bang on about. She's probably just naturally slim. Leave that poor woman alone. Oh, OP, we know you really don't like your brother's fiancé. Unfortunately, your whole story drips with venom. You put her down in multiple ways, and it's not silly to love weddings. Just because you're not interested in it doesn't make it silly. Many people love weddings. In fact, your bakery probably gets a lot of business from them, which I doubt you find silly. But OP's not like other girls. Pick me. I'm one of the boys. The irony, OP runs a business that makes bank on such silly things, is clearly lost on OP. Ceremony and art is an essential part of humanity. So is eating together and joining families. You sound so judgmental and mean. I, male 45, am a single dad to my daughter, teen. When my daughter was only a month old, her mother decided she didn't want to be a mom anymore and left. So it's just been my daughter and me ever since. My daughter grew up with friends and other girls whose moms did everything girly, motherly with them. But for my daughter, I was the one who was helping her get ready for dance competitions, taking her to concerts like Taylor Swift and Harry Styles, going shopping for clothes, and so much more. So with mostly her friends, she gave me the title of Dad Mom jokingly because I act in both roles in my daughter's life. Of course, yesterday was Mother's Day. My daughter made a post with 2 pictures, a picture of her with my mom and my sister, and a picture of just her and me. She just thanked her grandma and aunt for being motherly influences for her. And then she did a special shout out to me for being her dad mom and doing everything for her in both dad and mom roles. We later went to dinner with my parents, my sister, and her family. My sister asked my daughter why she mentioned me in her Mother's Day post. My daughter said, well, Dad's a single parent, so he acts as both a mom and a dad. I only have one parent, not 2. My sister said, well, that's what Father's Day is for. She then turned to me and called me an idiot because Mother's Day is one day out of the year, so I shouldn't encourage my daughter to celebrate her dad on Mother's Day. My mom didn't feel like anything was wrong with it, but I feel like an idiot. So am I? Not the idiot. It's funny that when women post themselves on Father's Day because they're mom and dad, no one bats an eye. Shout out to you for being everything your daughter needs. It's hard enough being a girl. For you to try and understand and feed her interest says a lot about the stand-up man you are. This isn't a good look for your sister. It comes across as her being jealous that you were mentioned or feeling like she isn't enough of a motherly influence since your daughter mentioned you too. In the grand scheme of things, she's a hypocrite and lucky she got a mention since she's technically not your daughter's mother. This is exactly where my mind went. She wanted to be recognized in a motherly role and wasn't happy that OP got a better shout out than she did. I'm a single mom, and my kids have been celebrating me for Father's Day for about 10 years. Your daughter's opinion of you is the only one that counts out of this group. What your sister said is gender restrictive and doesn't account for all genders. Just because you're a male, you can't be motherly? What about females who act as fathers, or individuals who identify in other ways. It's a very 1950s definition of parenting roles.